Hello everyone, welcome to our Conversations with Public Health Leaders. I am Dr. Charity, founder of the Next 100 Initiative. Today we have Madam Rodio Diallo. Rodio is a credible voice and key stakeholder in the reproductive health space across the entire continent of Africa. In 2018, Rodio was named as one of the most influential Francophone women in global health. In Mali, Rodio was country representative of Population Services International, PSI. Rodio is a deputy director with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Welcome, Rodio. We are so excited to have you and thank you for joining us as we collectively inspire the emerging generation of public health leaders across the Africa continent. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Charity. Thank you for having me. And I'm delighted to be here and very humbled to be selected as part of the voices to inspire the younger generation of public health leaders.
Excellent. We're so eager to hear from you and to learn from you, Rodio. So let's get you started. Can you please share with us some of the role models or mentors early in your childhood and or public health career?
Early in my childhood, the one that fascinated me was my uncle. He was a medical doctor, and my dream was to be a doctor. So when I went to high school, he was running a clinic. I remember I went there for the summer and I wanted just to work at the clinic to get a gist of just the health field. And a couple of times I fainted. I totally fainted just by seeing blood. So I think that's where I knew that MD may not be for me, but in the back of my mind, I was interested in learning more about public health. I have a marketing and communications background, and the fascinating part of it was that I stepped into public health using my marketing skills and started with social marketing. And it was fascinating to be able to use marketing to encourage people for healthier behavior, whether it is to drink safe water, whether it is to wear a condom for HIV prevention, whether it is to adopt family planning. So using the marketing lens and to step into public health, that was really something I enjoyed doing, and it has forged my career after, of course, being aware that I can't be a doctor because I just can't stand blood.
Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for your uncle for that early introduction. So, leadership. Please share with us from your experiences what you see as the attributes in determining leadership effectiveness.
Wow, that's a big question. But what I take away when it comes to leadership is, first of all, the ability to influence positively. You lead, so you have to lead by example. You have to be mindful of the fact that others are watching, wanting to follow your path. So you are accountable to make sure that you are sending the right image. Accountability is very important. Ability to inspire change. Holding values worthy of respect. Respecting others and being respectful is very important in leadership. Being a good listener and also being inclusive and being close to your team. I think a leader should be approachable, should make time to listen, should also have in mind building others. That's very important.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, for those who've watched these conversations, you will hear some themes are resonating, themes around ability to inspire, inclusive leadership. So please, be very attentive. So another question, Rodio, is, from your experience, can you contrast, the difference or similarities between leading a team internally as compared to leading teams or stakeholders externally?
I think you need the same quality, whether it's internal, the way you behave internally should be consistent, positive, and you need also to reflect that behavior. For example, being approachable, mindfulness, Humble humility is very important, whether it is internal to the team or outside. Leading by example, inclusivity and accountability. Those to me are values you need inside the team, but also outside. Being mindful as a leader that your voice counts, and whether it's internal or external, that awareness is extremely important. Your behavior, you cannot model different behavior whether you are in or out. So I think consistently one has to live to those values, some of those values. This is not exhaustive, but those are few things to be mindful of and to be consistent.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. Remember, humility and then consistency. You model, values, whether you're within internal team or external. That's great. So another question is, how do you select, people or profiles for leadership teams? Share your experiences or recommendations. Yeah.
Okay, for leadership teams, I usually break away from hierarchy. For example, when I was running country offices, I would make sure that people at the lower level of the pyramid also have someone sitting in the leadership team. And in addition to those who are part of the leadership team, given their programmatic and the role they play, I always tend to mix it with those who have no voice. And in our society, whether or not we acknowledge it, we have this top-down culture, people managing up and managing by fear. So always making sure that, for example, someone who's head of the department will be in the leadership team with the representative of the drivers. So that actually when there is a leadership decision, it won't be something that is dictated through the hierarchy, but someone they relate to also will convey the message. And also that's how you can really understand what is going on, the issues affecting different group within the organization. Leadership will not just be based on the programmatic position, but to be inclusive enough so that every voice can be heard.
So in teams, generally, how would you recommend approaching a situation where you have team members who are not a good fit for their role or who are underperforming?
Yeah, I think first of all, you lead by good intent, knowing that whoever shows up to the office wants to contribute. Now, if someone is not performing, it will be very crucial to have a candid conversation to try and understand, because maybe the person is not performing because he or she has a lot going on in his life. Maybe also that she doesn't like the job. Maybe she has other issues. So creating space, and building trust to allow that person to share the concern. It may be there is a dynamic within the organization that you as a leader, you are not aware of, and that is hindering the employee's performance. So being approachable and trustworthy so that the employee struggling can open up, so that understanding where that employee comes from will be critical. That being said, giving them also a second chance, co-creating a probation or a performance improvement plan where you agree, and making sure that the person is supported. Sometimes it has to do with work style, or it has to do with power dynamic. It has to do with other things. you would want to understand in order to support the person to be successful in her role, or in his role. So those are steps, and also giving the person really the benefits of the doubt, making sure he or she is supported, and giving her a probation period to see how he or she is doing.
Oh, that's really insightful, Rodio. Thanks for sharing that. Just building on that, I think sometimes leaders need to be reminded, or let me say reminded, that they also report up. Because even CEOs might report to a board, right? So it's been great to share your experiences or recommendations or guiding principles around reporting up, managing up.
Mm-hmm. Well, managing up, you have to be honest. You manage up, but there is this African proverb saying that one single bangle doesn't make noise. So that's...
I haven't heard that before, Rodio.
So giving others credit. You manage up, you convey the message to your hierarchy because you report as well, but you need to be inclusive in how you manage up, give credit to the team, market their results, not really being self-centered as if you've done it all. I think you are the messenger, and one single person cannot achieve. So it's a team effort, being truthful, acknowledging everyone's contribution, and humbly reporting on behalf of the team, rather than taking everyone's credit for your own ego.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. So, given this fast-paced world that we work in, and that public health has become, how do you decide, how to prioritize how you use your time? How do you decide what to say yes to and what to say no to when there's so much pressure on your time?
First of all, I am very mindful of work-life balance because it took me years of illness, of stress, to come to a work-life balance. So when you come from a dark place where you really you struggle because of work stress, you don't want to go back there. So that's just to start with, and you have limited time, being ruthless when it comes to prioritization. There are things I don't want to waste my time there, and I will not waste my time there. There are things that are worth prioritizing, that are very important, and that's where I will devote my time. So in a nutshell, really, the ability to focus and to prioritize is critically important, and some things will fall in the crack because you just can't do it all. But asking yourself the genuine question, what is important to concentrate to? Will this, if I do this, will this be good to me and to others, not being selfish? And also, can I do it by myself, or should I lean into others? So really looking at doing this ruthless prioritization, but also being mindful of what your focus should go and your attention.
Right. That's so critical, and thanks for sharing that. So let me build on the point you made about coming from a dark place and it has compelled you to have the work-life balance. So can you share what you do to maintain your wellness? What types of wellness approaches do you apply?
Well, I play golf.
Oh wow!
At 6 a.m. when you hit the ball, it's like whoever upset you, you are hitting that person.
That's a good word.
Well, so I think having a passion and just going after the passion is part of your work-life balance to start with. I mean, some people can't wake up early. Me, just for the sake of playing golf, I drive to IBB at 6, and I play and then I come back, so I'm happy. You have to take care of your happiness. What really makes you happy, that should be part of your daily routine, just to start with. whether it's reading a book, whether it's praying, whether it's meditation, whether it's walk, just making your leisure part of your daily routine is one thing. Positive mindset is extremely important. You wake up, be grateful for making it through the night. Thank God, whoever your God is, for what you have. Be grateful for what you have. Don't complain for what you don't have. Celebrate what you have. Celebrate the children you have. Celebrate the good health you have. Any little thing. I have this practice of every day I have to write 3 things I'm grateful for. So whatever it is, even if it is a nice coffee, I just write it down to myself as a way to be positive, you know? Or you watch a nice movie, you know, you just write it as a way to train your mind to be positive and also to be just happy. You know, cultivating happiness it's a life journey. Now, coming to the work-life balance, there are a few things I stopped doing. I don't work on weekends. Regardless of what I have to do, I cater, for example, 3 hours in the morning of Saturday. Saturday, between 9 and 12, I can sit, do some work, and then shut down, or if I go back to my computer, it's for personal things. So just that discipline of not working on weekends, even if that means staying in my couch watching movies, but I'm not going to do that. Also, refraining from responding to emails at undue time. You send me an email at 10 p.m. Even if I know the answer, I'm not going to jump on my phone. I have to protect my own privacy. Because if you don't protect your own privacy, everyone will enter your privacy and will expect you to answer on Sunday or at midnight or at 2 a.m. So that's just setting some boundaries in a way that the people you work with will know that, for example, they can't schedule for a call at 8 p.m. because I will decline it and just candidly remind people that this is my private time. Even during the pandemic, when I was, we were all working from home, I put boundaries not to be on calls late night. And so those are the things you try to do and balance it now with leisure. What gives you energy, and you try to make it part of your routine, but boundaries so that people will know that even if you are at home, they don't expect you to be on a call at a late timing or to respond to an email on weekends.
Rodio, I must tell you, for every interview, there's so many, take-home points for me. And one of the many I'm taking home from here is cultivating happiness. Like, I've never heard it said that way, and I'm just awed by the way you've phrased that. So, the pandemic. We cannot go away without discussing the pandemic. So, what has the pandemic taught you about leadership in public health?
Well, I think, like many of my colleagues, we produce 3 or 4 times more in times of pandemic as opposed to when we pre-pandemic time. Just because you are locked in the house and all you do is work, you are cut from your social network. So what was critically important during the pandemic is compassion, empathy, knowing that people were going through a lot, because if you lead in terms of pandemic and you were not empathetic, you were not compassionate, because you don't know what people were going through. Maybe they have a relative who died from COVID, maybe someone in the household has COVID. So a lot of trauma, even knowing someone who passed from COVID was a trauma. So being compassionate and knowing that we're in a different time And you may not know it, but a lot may be going on in your team's life. So being compassionate, being understanding, and giving people just time to cope with the pandemic, because this was all of us. This was our first time in such situation. How I adjust to the work from home may be different from how someone else is adjusting, especially looking at young professionals, female who have young children and have a husband to manage, a household to run, and also parents to take care of. And they also want to deliver because they need their job. So if you are not a compassionate leader, I think you are just putting your team in a roller coaster, because you can't ignore your children. We bring work in people's home. So how can we be mindful, also understanding and supportive, knowing that this is an unusual time, and it can be very difficult, especially just looking at the gender dynamic happening in a household. Many husbands don't help with domestic chore. You are a female professional, you are expected to deliver in your work, but also you are expected to attend to the children, you are expected to attend to that man you call your husband. So sitting on the couch playing with the remote control and not doing anything and hoping to have a hot meal, in due time. So how do you juggle it as a young professional? I think that the key takeaway is just how resilient women can be, because the pandemic was harder on female, especially female professionals, who now are no longer going out of the house, but they're in the house, and in many places they couldn't even have help, because to avoid risk, you let your house help go, or you live in a setting where you cannot afford to have the nursery is closed, the kindergarten is closed, so you have your children with the level of expectation, the professional level of expectation never decrease. So I think we need to be more compassionate and not assuming that you know all what's going on in someone's life, and being open to feedback so that we can all co-create that environment which was unique during the times of the pandemic. So women's resilience, and also the fact that whether we acknowledge it or not, people can work from anywhere. Honestly, that dynamic of going to the office, 5 days a week, 9 to 5, that's gone. I think the world has changed, and as leaders, we need to change. Otherwise, we will just be left behind. That trust, the pandemic has also taught us that you can trust your employee, because people deliver in different settings. And how can we, getting out of the pandemic, if we ever get out of the pandemic,
I know.
Getting out of the pandemic, how can we foster that trust? And just let people be flexible. If they want to work from their home, let them work from their home, because the work will not suffer. If they are more comfortable at the office, let them come to the office. So one also lesson from the pandemic is we need to change our mindset, and go with the flow, leverage what the pandemic has taught each one of us, and give people space so that the workplace will not be a constraint, but it will respond to user need, employee needs.
Yeah. No, these are really great points. There's none to pick, and they're all great points, Rodio. Thanks for sharing those. So, you've provided so much feedback. I don't even know how to summarize, but let's try. If you were to pick just 3 points that, you would like for listeners to just go away with. Everything is so crucial. What would those 3 points be?
Just cultivate work-life balance. There's no point pushing yourself at a point to lose your mind or to be in high stress. So work-life balance is very important, and what works for me may not work for someone else, but just being mindful that it's not all about the work, it's not all about the professional development, but trying to balance both is very important, because this is not a race, you know, you have just to go at your pace, being curious and always wanting to learn, to grow. If you don't learn, you don't grow, you know. So being curious, being open to the world, and to our fellow female leaders, I would just say the sky is the limit. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, you are a women do X, Y, and Z. We are, first of all, human. Let's see ourselves as human, professional, wanting to strive with big dreams, and we should just go after our dreams and be very confident that the best is yet to come. And it's perfectly possible to combine being a professional, having a family life, you know, and striving in our society.
Great, thank you so much. It's awesome. So there you have it, a conversation with Rodio Diallo. I'm so inspired, and I hope you were also inspired with all that she shared with us. So stay inspired, and we want to thank Rodio for again making time. Rodio is really busy, for making time to share these experiences and to inspire the next generation of public health leaders across the continent. Thank you so much, Rodio.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to meeting the students.
The students, great, great, great. So stay inspired until the next conversation. Be well. Thank you.